Look at that. Look at that. Got the shirt and everything.
Got the shirt. Got the shirt. Been there, done there. Got the t-shirt.
Looks great. Looks great. How's Kevin today?
Kevin is doing pretty good. He's feeling busy. Got a couple work projects he's trying to squeeze in on a Sunday. And definitely want to go hang out with the family a little bit. Watching The Last Kingdom on Netflix. And which inspired us to restart Game of Thrones and go through that again.
I still haven't finished that. I need to finish that. I got to get, what is it, season 7, season 8?
Season 8's the last one, but there's a lot of debate on whether or not you should bother.
I told you we watched Mystify last night.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage you to get through that, and then we can talk about that.
Yeah, I'm about halfway through. I'm enjoying it. It's just not one that I can sit down and watch straight through. At least not at home.
Yes, I still am a big NXS fan. But so tomorrow's May 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Are you planning to binge any Star Wars, or?
I think I'm just gonna watch Rogue One. Yeah,
Best one. Best one. Did you get through? Did Clone Wars end? I know you're a big Clone Wars fan.
I am. I believe there's one more episode.
We're talking movies today.
That's what I understand. Yeah.
We should be probably talking Star Wars, but I don't want to draw the ire of the Star Wars online community. So
right.
we're gonna steer clear.
There's enough out there.
But we thought we could talk about our top 5 favorite films. Do you want to alternate?
So I decided I'm going to go with my top 5 favorite movies that makes me love movies. So the movies that I remember watching that made me really love going to the movies and wanting to do it more often. And I apologize, a lot of them were from between 6th and 8th grade, so I still can't move past it.
Yeah, that's another episode too. We have lots of material that make for different episodes. But okay, well, I'm gonna let you start. Give us one of your top 5 favorite films. A little synopsis, maybe.
One of my top 5 favorite films. One of the top 5 films that really made me love going to the movies is Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh yeah, tell us about what you remember.
I just remember I was young. I'm trying to remember what year that came out. I think it was like 80 or 81.
No, it was still like 78.
Was it in the 70s? I remember I went, wasn't my choice, but when the family was going to the movies, I was tagging along. But I just remember being bored, because there's so much dialogue.
Yep.
And at that age, dialogue is not friendly to kids. But then all of a sudden, just glued. Spaceships, just the drama of these big ships coming over that amazing looking mountain from Montana. Just everything about it was just a big boom in my head.
It was epic.
And I pursued it all through the 80s when it came out on different formats, and it just back then it seemed like it took forever for your favorite movies to just show up in some form that you could watch at home, whether on TV or VHS or whatever.
Yeah, I don't even think Star Wars got to HBO until what, 83?
Right.
Yeah, so Close Encounters of the Third Kind, we use International Movie Database for everybody tuning in. It says 1977.
Oh, wow. I was, depending on when in 77, I was only like 4 or 5.
I'm not saying how old I was in
Yeah.
77.
But I just remember being in awe at that movie, being bored out of my mind and then in awe and thinking, I need to see that again. Yeah.
So my list is more like, I mean, films I really, really enjoyed and still enjoy and never get tired of. I could easily do a top 10 or a top 15 because I like to throw Saturday afternoon movies in there.
Mm-hmm.
Movies that there's a whole separate list of movies that if they're on TV, I'm going to watch it and not turn it off.
Right.
Every time. But I'll start with High Fidelity with John Cusack, Jack Black, Lisa Bonet. Love that movie. 2000, came out in 2000.
Okay.
Record store culture. We were just starting to peek under the hood, and it was based on the book by Nick Hornby, which I hadn't read until recently. I wanted to follow up with the book. And now, of course, it's a new series that's been rebooted on Hulu, but really love that movie. The dialogue driven.
Any parallels in your life to his dating life? No, not at all.
No.
Good answer.
Were you a fan of Clerks? Do you remember Clerks?
I do remember Clerks. Yeah.
So I really loved Clerks, except that it was a spewing diatribe of filth. But I loved how fast it reminded me of that. High Fidelity kind of reminded me of that, but around, with new material, a little more thought out, not playing just for the shock factor. High Fidelity had a lot more heart for me.
It's just got a great rhythm to the dialogue.
Yes.
So I agree. Great movie. Great movie.
You're next.
I'm next. All right. And I promise I am not trying to go Spielbergian on this, but I was a child of the late 70s and 80s, and I'm talking about movies that influenced my love of movies. So I got to go with the adventurous Goonies.
I was wondering if that was going to make your list.
Yeah, it's definitely influenced just my love of movies. Goonies came out in 85, actually. Okay. Goonies came out in 85, and that was back in the day of Saturdays or summer vacation, collecting my friends and being dropped off at the mall to go see a movie. And just sitting in there with our candy and sodas and just living their adventure while we were sitting there in the theater and wishing we could have our own adventure.
Yeah. I'll say it publicly. I've never seen Goonies. I know you knew that, but now everyone knows.
Yes. I still think you need to see it, but you got to see it through your 13-year-old filter, if you can figure out how to do that.
Next on my list would be, is it 2008? Tron Legacy.
Is that 2008? Has it really been that long?
2010, sorry. 2010. I was all about the first Tron movie. Tron Legacy was everything I wanted in a Tron sequel. Lots of fan service, but they really dialed it up. And for some reason, I got to see it in 3D IMAX. So it really felt like we were in the machine, and it was close to a religious experience for me. Still love that movie. Soundtrack is amazing. Love Tron Legacy. It's very close to me.
Great movie, great effects, fun effects, different effects. is what I like about it. It's just very different. Even the first Tron was cutting edge for the day. You know, in my opinion, it is the prequel to The Matrix. That's just the whole Tron thing is the prequel to The Matrix, right? So my next pick is one that I didn't see in the theater, so it's kind of off my path of movies that made me love going to the movies, but maybe movies that made me love movies. If it falls in there, is Full Metal Jacket. First time I saw it, it came out in '87. I saw it in the theaters in '87. It didn't really connect with me too well then. In '95, I had enlisted in the Army, and the day before I left for boot camp, a guy that I knew from my buddy's college, because I wasn't even going to college then, but my buddy was going to college, and one of his friends there was hanging out with me, and he said, "Hey, you're going to boot camp tomorrow. Let's watch this movie." And wow, what a great mind-warping movie the day before I leave for basic training. Which honestly, I think it did help me mentally prepare. I was not surprised by anything I experienced in basic training. So,
as a result,
and then watching the movie several times after that, it's just a darn good movie. It's just great editing, great story, great snapshot of the time without being for or against specifically any political views, but it was just, I thought it was a great movie.
Well, that's a surprise. I didn't know that was going to make your list.
That was in my list.
And I brought props today. So just to recap, High Fidelity.
Oh, look at that.
Tron Legacy.
Tron Legacy. There it is.
Up next for me would be Lost in Translation.
It's one of my film holes. I've never seen it.
What? No.
Perfect. Yep. Never seen it.
I'm looking for the year here.
Gotta go on my radar.
Is it so? Sofia Coppola directed. I'm still looking for the year here. 2003. Blown away. Again, the pacing, the dialogue. It's really slow in places, and that it's sort of the opposite of the High Fidelity, which is this rapid fire dialogue. This one's much slower paced, and you get a real sense of disconnect in the city. He's overseas. He's working in Tokyo and separated from everything. A great snapshot of humanity, about connecting with others, and just love that movie. The soundtrack's amazing. You feel immersed, like you're there. You can really feel these wide stretches and beautifully shot. It's just really fun. Great movie. One of my all-time top favorite films.
How many times do you believe you've seen it?
More than 10?
More than
a lot.
10. Do you have a favorite line? A favorite quote from the movie?
You know, it ends with Jesus and the Mary Chains, just like honey. So it's the perfect outro. Maybe we could interview Sofia Coppola on our little show here.
I'll send her a tweet later today and see what she's up to. See what
Okay,
we can do.
That'll work.
All right, this is going to be a shock. One of my all-time favorite movies that kind of shaped my love of movies is When Harry Met Sally.
I love that movie.
It's just a great movie. It's one of the few romantic comedies that I can watch over and over and over and over again with my wife. I don't know.
Billy Crystal is so funny.
He is amazing. He's amazingly funny in that movie. And it's such a good snapshot of that late 20s, early 30s, something, trying to date, trying to be in this crazy world and find somebody.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher's in it.
Carrie Fisher, yep.
I love the scene they're at the Mets game and they're doing the wave.
Having the conversation, and as the wave comes, they just
I love that film. Yes, and it's very, very New York.
I love the scene where his buddy, and forgive me for not knowing the actor's name, but he apparently he's in a lot of Billy Crystal movies. In fact, I'm going to allude to a foreshadowing, but the coffee table, the wagon wheel coffee table that he has to sacrifice because he just got married and Carrie Fisher is playing his wife, doesn't really like it. That whole dialogue and that whole scene of the coffee table, which I truly believe is a foreshadowing to City Slickers. But that's just me. That's my thought.
Which I love City Slickers too. That soundtrack, I really like movies with a great soundtrack. That means a lot to me. Mm-hmm. And that soundtrack was all Harry Connick Jr.
Yep.
I don't think he was the original slate, but they handed it to him and he took the ball and ran with it, and it launched his career, man. That is a great soundtrack.
It sure did. That's the first time I remember hearing, I think even watching it at some point, I was like, oh, Harry Connick Jr., that's him. But at the time, he wasn't the thing that he is.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that was kind of a surprise. All right. You know this one.
Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon, 1980. Soundtrack by Queen. That's probably what it's most famous for. But it was plagued from day one for being too cool. There's a documentary called Life After Flash. If you get a chance, see that. It talks about the problems they had getting this thing off the ground. But I was 10 years old or 11 years old, and I chose it over Empire Strikes Back, Kevin. It's amazing we're still friends, but yes. And I was telling everybody, like, no way, Flash Gordon's way better than Empire.
I just remember Flash Gordon getting to cable much faster than anything Star Wars did. So I watched it many, many times in the early 80s on HBO or one of those movie channels from the back in the day.
Somebody, a family friend, gave me the cassette soundtrack for Christmas. Mm-hmm. I wore that thing out. In fact, I think I still have it here somewhere. I do have it.
Flash Gordon audio cassette. Is that the soundtrack?
Yeah. And found this under the Christmas tree and just played it day and night and day after school. My dad's 67 Bronco was in the backyard, and he had a trailer hooked up to it. So we would go out and play spaceship in the Bronco and climb all over the trailer and recreate the whole Hawkman battle. And our 6th grade final was we had to lip sync.
Nice.
And so I lip synced pretty much all of side 2. Because it had dialogue from the movie, it had the band, had that great Brian May screaming custom guitar sound, and hands down, I mean, that is still an experience for me. It looks so cool. Timothy Dalton is Prince Baron, and I became a diehard Timothy Dalton fan at that point. Still the best James Bond ever.
Who played Ming?
Max von Sydow. That movie is just all that for me. It elicits an emotional response from me because it's just so fun. And top 5 favorite films, Flash Gordon, hands down.
And that is probably the best segue into my 5th favorite movie that made me love movies, Superman.
I thought you were going to say Star Wars.
No, I don't know why. I don't know why. I think because I put that in a completely different genre. As far as, I don't know, I'm too emotionally connected to it.
So Superman.
Superman, which I remember watching that in the theaters. I want to say that was 79, if I recall.
78.
I remember going to see that one. I was influenced a lot when I was super young. It's amazing. I've never actually looked at it that way. I just remember trying to figure out, how did they make this guy fly? And it would be several years after that I started learning about green screens and how that works and all that. But just to that, young Kevin sitting in the theater, just amazed by somebody flying with his girlfriend. How does that happen? I can understand the guy flying, but how can he just take somebody along with him too?
Yeah, and she's still my favorite, Lois Lane.
Margot Kidder.
Yep.
Yes.
What a great movie. And I loved the sequel, Superman 2.
Yeah, it felt like it was just a good next movie, not like they forced a movie. In fact, I remember being a teenager watching both of them and saying, oh, wow, there was a lot of foreshadowing to the second movie in the first movie with the prisoners and all that in the beginning.
Yeah, great continuity. I loved that franchise. I've still never seen Superman 3.
That's a good place to be.
I feel like I want to see it because there's a Superman fights Superman scene in that, right?
There is. And it's a phenomenal scene. I love it. It starts off with Superman in a bar
drinking
peanuts into the bottles and just shattering the bottles, which is a lot of fun. That part.
So the John Williams soundtrack, again, going for soundtracks here, that it's amazing. The build up, the fanfare, it's probably some of his. I love the Superman soundtrack. Tell me why there's no Star Wars on your list when I know you're a huge Star Wars fan. See if you can put that into words for us.
Yeah, to me, Star Wars is it's a universe. So absolutely, the Star Wars was a big impact on my movie going life, but it just felt like the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, so I have some movies that are super special to me that really belong in my top 5. The Lord of the Rings trilogy. That whole trilogy to me is one film, and I couldn't pick one to be in the top 5, and I didn't want to take up 3 spaces in my top 5. So, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy is sort of that for me. It's a whole thing. It's super special, super important, and my year doesn't feel complete without watching it.
Thanks to this pandemic, I know this is going to sound crazy, but we finally watched all of them.
Was there anything on your cutting room floor almost made your top 5?
I was really influenced. There was a movie called Cloak and Dagger from the 80s.
Yes.
So good. It was the kid that played Elliot from E.T. And Dabney Coleman. And that movie was just a big influence, or, it was one of those Saturdays, dropped off at the mall, go watch a movie, and really enjoyed that one. E.T. was a huge influence on me as a young lad. I did want to put that on my list, but I just didn't want it to be a complete Spielbergian list. Although I have to admit, Spielberg.
He is a master filmmaker. Things that should probably be on my list. I really love Blade Runner 2049. Saw it on an airplane. If you see it with great speakers or surround sound, because that's part of the experience. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Of course.
With Breakfast Club. Both of those films huge influence on me. Those have to be on there. Ghostbusters. That was a go to the theater experience for me, and I'll watch it anytime it's on TV. Of course, you know I'm a big Underworld fan.
Yes, I do.
So those first three Underworld movies, again, that kind of caps off that trilogy for me. But I'll watch them anytime. The soundtracks are so cool and dark and moody, and
fantastic.
Yeah.
My big guilty pleasure movie is Dazed and Confused.
I've never seen that.
It's a great soundtrack from the 70s. Definitely a good snapshot film of what life was in 76. As a teenager. Of course, I was young. I was 4 when these antics were going on. But yeah, definitely worth a view.
Rogue One would be on my list. I love Rogue One.
Such a fun film. Remind you why you like movies. That's all it needs to be.
All right. So to recap, Kevin, give us your top 5 favorite film recap.
My top 5 favorite film recap was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. From there, I went Goonies next, I believe. And then I went Full Metal Jacket, When Harry Met Sally, and
Superman.
Thank you.
I might have to recut this because I didn't do my number 5 yet. But my top 5 favorite films were High Fidelity, Tron Legacy, Lost in Translation, Flash Gordon, and coming in at number 5 would be From the Sky Down. Love that film. If you haven't seen, Davis Guggenheim works with U2 and helps them revisit the making of Yaktoon Baby album, which that album means a lot to me. That's a whole 2-part episode.
Oh gosh, yeah.
When I'm in a funk, I put that movie on and I feel much, much better. So I should probably go do that.
Right. I need to watch it again. I need to watch it more and more.
But yeah, worth a watch. If you're a U2 fan and you like the 87 to 92 jump they made, love that film.
Very impactful on my 17, 18, 19-year-old self. Huge impact. That time frame.
And that came out in 2011, so we're already 10 years away from the 20th anniversary. So I wonder if they'll do anything special for the 30th anniversary. So that rounds out my top 5.
This is fun. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a long episode. So parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts would be just enjoy movies because they're a lot of fun.
There you go. And with that, cue the outro music and
she's out of there.
Okay, kids, we'll see you next time.
Take care. Stay SHMO.
But, and then, there's going to be some honorable mention shout outs. What was that?
I have no idea. I have no idea what that was. And
that was scary.
That was a bit creepy. Apparently, it stopped, but was still collecting that data and then threw it out really fast to get caught up. Can't wait to watch this playback again.
Wow. Ooh. Okay.
Gotta love the internet.